they left. Or maybe, my friends, they were never truly there to begin with. You gave your time, your attention, your heart. You tried again and again and again, like a gardener watering a dead plant, hoping it might bloom just once more. But they ghosted you, ignored your worth, chose someone else. And now, here you are, sitting with the silence they left behind, replaying every moment like a movie that never got its ending. You ask yourself the same questions on loop. Do they miss me? Do they even think about me? Will they ever come back? You scroll, you wait, you overthink. But let me tell you something real, something they won't say out loud. They do think about you. They do feel your absence. They will come back. But not because you waited like a statue frozen in time. They'll come back because you grew into everything they pretended not to want, until the moment they realized they couldn't replace it. See, folks, people don't miss you when you're still chasing them. They miss you when you stop, when you become calm, when you no longer react, when you carry yourself with that silent confidence that says, "I wanted you, but I don't need you." That's when your silence starts echoing in their mind, louder than your presence ever did. The human mind can't forget what made it feel deeply, and whether they admit it or not, you did. You left fingerprints on their soul, not the kind that fade, but the kind that haunt them in quiet hours. They'll laugh at something and suddenly remember your voice. They'll see someone new and wish they felt what they felt with you. That's not fantasy, that's psychology. People always realize value in absence, never in abundance. My friends, the Stoics taught that you cannot control what others do, but you can control what you become because of it. Stop begging for closure from someone who never deserved your honesty in the first place. The truth is, you were never too much. They were simply too small to hold something real. Let that sting wake you up, not break you. Let it remind you that not everyone who touches your heart deserves to stay there. You gave them something they couldn't understand: loyalty, consistency, love, and that's why they ran. Not because you weren't enough, but because realness terrifies people who live pretending. It's funny, isn't it? When you're available, they overlook you. But the moment you walk away, they start searching for the version of you they once ignored. That's how human nature works. We chase what withdraws. So be that quiet storm, be that calm fire, be the peace they destroyed and now crave back. Detach not out of bitterness, but out of power. Your detachment is not indifference, it's clarity. You finally see who deserves your energy and who only feeds on it. And when they come back, because they will, don't meet them with the same softness. Meet them with silence, with calm eyes that say, "I remember you, but I've outgrown the version of me that needed you." That's not revenge. That's growth. That's your evolution speaking. Remember, folks, they'll come back not because you begged, but because you bloomed, because you turned your pain into peace, because your absence became their mirror, showing them what they lost when they played with something rare. So hold your head up, stay grounded, and remind yourself every day, they lost you, not the other way around. Write this down in the comments right now. I choose peace over pain. Say it, feel it, become it. If this spoke to your soul, press that like button, subscribe for more Stoic truths, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. Number 1, rejection is just redirection. Rejection. It hits you in the chest like cold water after a long sleep. Sudden, shocking. You sit there wondering what you did wrong. Why weren't you enough? Why didn't they choose you? Wasn't the love real? Didn't the moments matter? You replay everything, searching for clues like a detective at a crime scene. But the only thing you keep finding is silence. My friends, listen to me very carefully. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's the redirection your soul ordered before your heart even understood what was happening. It's easy to think rejection means you're unworthy, that something's broken in you, that you're too much, or maybe not enough. But the truth is, you were aiming your arrow at the wrong target. The person you were trying to be loved by, they didn't reject you. They rejected the reflection of themselves they saw when they looked at you, because you were evolving, you were growing, and they were stuck. You showed them a mirror. You made them uncomfortable. You reminded them of what they could never give. That's not your fault. That's just misalignment, my friend. A misfit of timing, values, or maturity. And when that happens, the universe doesn't stay silent. It redirects. The Stoics taught us, what stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius knew that adversity was not an interruption, it was the path itself. The rejection wasn't there to stop you, it was there to point you toward the place where your worth would actually be seen. The place where love won't feel like begging, where you won't be afraid of losing someone for being too honest, too loyal, or too real. But of course, it doesn't feel that way at first, does it? Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That person, the one who left, they were part of your unconscious attraction, a pattern, not a partner. You chased them because they felt familiar, even if that familiarity was toxic. Maybe they resembled someone from your past. Maybe you wanted to fix what you never got to fix before. Or maybe you just wanted to be chosen, finally. And when they didn't choose you, it reopened an old wound, one that existed long before they showed up. That's why it hurts so much. Not because they were the one, but because they touched a scar you've been hiding under strength. And yet, in the deepest part of that pain lies your transformation. Think of rejection like being pruned. The gardener cuts the branch not to punish the tree, but to help it grow stronger, taller, wilder. When they rejected you, the universe trimmed away the illusion you were clinging to. It hurt, but it had to. Otherwise, you'd still be pouring water into a cup with no bottom, still giving your light to someone who wore sunglasses in your sun. Rejection is sacred, my friends. It's life's way of saying, not here, not now. There's something better, but most of us don't hear that part. We only hear the slam of the door. Let me ask you something real. What if their leaving saved you from years of slow heartbreak? What if that rejection was mercy in disguise? What if staying would have destroyed your sense of self in ways you couldn't come back from? You don't see it now, but months from now, maybe years, you will look back and say, thank God it didn't work out. Because your peace matters more than their potential. Because your path matters more than their promises. I know the silence after rejection feels unbearable. You keep checking your phone. You keep checking their page. You keep checking your own worth in the mirror, asking if you should have said less or more or something different. But the truth is, if someone couldn't love the raw, unfiltered version of you, then their love was a cage, not a home. You were becoming someone too big for the space they were offering. You were evolving into a version of yourself that their ego couldn't handle. So they left. Or you did. Doesn't matter. The split was necessary. Let go of the illusion that they were your last chance at love. Let go of the idea that something must be wrong with you. Let go of the need to make sense of people who don't even understand themselves. They didn't walk away because you weren't good enough. They walked away because your presence required accountability, because loving you would have forced them to grow. And growth terrifies those who cling to comfort, even if that comfort is chaos. So now you stand at a crossroads. You can either keep running in circles asking why, or you can walk forward and trust that this pain is the very thing shaping you. Let this moment harden your focus, not your heart. Let this rejection forge you into someone so whole, so aligned, that you'll never beg for breadcrumbs again. Because, my friend, once you taste peace, attention will never be enough. There's a stronger, calmer, more grounded version of you on the other side of this. Someone who knows their worth isn't up for negotiation. Someone who understands that being chosen by the wrong person is not a blessing. It's a delay. You weren't being denied love. You were being delayed for realness, for depth, for something solid. So take a deep breath. Look in the mirror and say it with me right now. Rejection redirected me. Type it in the comments. Let your future self read it back to you when you're glowing in peace, when you're no longer waiting, when you're finally aligned. That's your affirmation. Rejection redirected me. Number 2. The law of human nature. They think about you more than you think. People think that once someone ghosts you, cheats on you, or leaves you behind, they just move on, that they forget about you the moment they stop texting. But that's not how human nature works, my friends. The truth is far stranger, far deeper, and way more poetic than we give it credit for. See, human beings are creatures of pattern. What we repeat becomes part of us. What we feel consistently, even briefly, wires itself into our brains like muscle memory. And when you were in their life, even if only for a moment, a few weeks, or a couple of messy months, you became part of their pattern. That's why silence hits so hard. It's not loud, but it's felt. Your absence, if handled correctly, becomes magnetic. Think of it like walking into a room where a candle was just blown out. The flame is gone, but the scent still lingers. That's you. You left a mark, a trail, a frequency in their mind, and no matter how far they run or how many distractions they chase, you exist in the corners of their memory. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life." That applies here too. They may not realize why they're suddenly anxious when they hear that one song, or why they pause when someone laughs the way you used to. But deep inside, where logic doesn't reach, their brain remembers you. Humans crave what's familiar, even if it's chaotic, even if it's painful. That's why people go back to toxic exes. That's why the one who cheated still thinks about the one they betrayed. It's not because they feel guilty all the time, though sometimes they do, but because you were a chapter in their life, and the human brain doesn't just delete chapters, it bookmarks them, especially if there was strong emotion involved. Let me break it down for you real slow. Neuroscience has proven that emotional memories, especially ones tied to relationships, get stored in the amygdala and other emotional centers of the brain. These memories are not erased by time. They are triggered by association, which means one sound, one smell, one random phrase can bring your face back into their mind without warning. You don't need to message them. You don't need to chase them. You just need to vanish long enough for the silence to do the work. Even the one who ghosted you, yeah, that one who pretended like you never existed, has definitely scrolled through your stories. Maybe from a fake account, maybe from a distance, but they checked. Humans are curious by nature, especially when they think they've won and suddenly realize they feel empty. And even the one who betrayed you, cheated, lied, manipulated, still dreams about the version of you that once made them feel safe. They try to fill that hole with someone else. But copy-paste connections never hit the same. Because energy isn't duplicated, it's unique. You were unique. Now I know what you're thinking. If they still think about me, why haven't they come back? But folks, remembering and returning are two different beasts. Just because someone remembers you doesn't mean they're ready to face you, especially if your silence reminds them of everything they did wrong. The mind clings to familiarity, but the ego resists accountability. They'll stay away, not because they don't care, but because coming back would require courage they don't have yet. And your calm, your glow-up, your peace? That's intimidating. So what do? You don't break. You don't reach out. You don't beg to be remembered. You just keep living. Quietly, powerfully, stoically. Because when someone has tasted the depth of you, everything shallow starts to feel exhausting. They remember you every time someone doesn't understand them. Every time they laugh but don't feel safe. Every time they scroll past another pretty face and still feel empty. You are not forgotten. You are haunting the very space they pretended you never occupied. Say it with me now. They still think about me. Type it in the comments. Let it be a reminder. Let it be your anchor. Because the law of human nature doesn't lie. You're still living in their memory, rent-free. Number 3. Your absence is louder than your presence. Sometimes the loudest thing in a person's life is the silence you leave behind. Not your words, not your affection, not your attention, but your sudden, unexplainable absence. My friends, we live in a world addicted to validation. Most people aren't seeking love, they're seeking attention. They're not looking for depth, they're looking for someone to keep feeding their ego. And the moment you stop showing up for them, the moment you go quiet, something shifts in their reality. Something starts to itch in the back of their mind, not because they loved you deeply, but because you were a source of power they could tap into. And now that power is gone. You stop texting, you stop checking in, you stop showing up with your endless loyalty and softness, and they feel it, even if they pretend they don't, even if they post like they've moved on, smiling in photos with people who don't even know the real them. Deep down, they feel that shift. It's not your physical absence that shakes them, it's the emotional disconnection. Because let's be real, it wasn't love they were addicted to. It was how you made them feel about themselves. You saw them when they felt invisible. You made them feel important when they were drowning in doubt. You made them feel desired when they couldn't even look in the mirror. You became a mirror they liked to see themselves in. And now that mirror is gone, and they're left alone, staring at a reflection they no longer recognize. That's why they check your stories. That's why they hover but never speak. That's why they flinch when your name gets brought up in conversations, because you represent something that no longer belongs to them. Something they thought they could come back to. Something they thought would always be available. But you changed the game. You removed their access. And that, folks, is when the haunting begins. But don't get it twisted. You're not haunting them. Their own guilt is. The way they left. The way they lied. The way they pretended you didn't matter after everything. That guilt doesn't just vanish. It festers. It mutates. It turns into overthinking. And it hits them hardest in the quiet hours. They hear your voice in the silence they thought they wanted. They replay moments they swore meant nothing. They scroll through old pictures, half ashamed and half nostalgic. And the worst part, they'll never admit it. Because admitting they miss you would be admitting they fumbled something rare. But here's what you need to understand. Your presence once gave them a high. Your absence now gives them withdrawal. That's the power of energy. When you show up with intention, with love, with consistency, you become part of someone's rhythm. And when that rhythm stops, it's noticeable. It messes with their balance. You were a calm in their chaos. You were a rare kind of warmth. And now, in your absence, the cold has returned. Still, this isn't about revenge. It's not about making them suffer. That's not what we do here. This is about clarity. This is about recognizing that you never had to yell to be heard, that your silence speaks volumes more than any paragraph you could have sent. And this is about peace, yours. Because every time they think of you, every time your name dances across their memory, they are reminded of what they lost. And every time you stay quiet, you reclaim more of your power. Let that be enough. Let your absence speak. Let the silence do what your words never could. Say it with me now. My silence speaks loud. Type it in the comments. Let it echo. Let it affirm what you already know deep inside. You don't have to chase what's already regretting you in private. Number 4. What you chase runs, what you ignore obsesses. There's a strange law at play in this world, my friends, a silent force tucked deep into the folds of psychology and human nature. And it's this: what you chase runs, but what you ignore obsesses. You've probably felt it before, haven't you? The more you tried to show up, the more they pulled away. The more you texted, the slower they replied. The more you gave, the less they seemed to care. And you sat there, confused, thinking maybe you just needed to try harder. But let me tell you something raw and unfiltered. Your trying wasn't the problem. Your chasing was. See, people don't value what's always available. They crave what's rare, what's unpredictable, what creates emotional tension. That's just how the mind works. It's not always fair, and it's definitely not romantic, but it's real. When you chase someone, what you're unintentionally doing is handing over your value. You're saying, "You're the prize. You're the one worth the effort. I'll prove myself to you." And what does that do? It puts them on a pedestal. It creates an imbalance. Now they're not wondering about you. They're not curious. They're comfortable. And comfort breeds complacency, especially in people who don't truly appreciate your presence. But the moment you stop chasing, something shifts. You pull back. You go quiet. You stop feeding the dynamic. And now suddenly there's space, there's tension, there's a question in their mind they never asked before. Why did they stop? That silence you dropped like a stone in still water. It creates ripples, and those ripples turn into obsession. Because now you've become the unpredictable one. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement. When attention comes and goes, the brain becomes more addicted. Your absence, your withdrawal, your sudden lack of effort, it confuses them. And confusion is powerful. It forces introspection. It forces desire. People don't chase what's obvious. They chase what makes them feel just a little unsure, a little challenged. That's what triggers pursuit. Let's take it deeper. Think of yourself like fire. When you chase, your flame burns too hot. It overwhelms, it consumes. But when you step back, when you control that fire, people begin to move toward it. They crave its warmth. They remember its glow. They realize they miss it. And it's not just about desire, it's about energy. Energy that you used to give without hesitation. Energy that made them feel important, safe, worshipped even. And now that it's gone, they feel the cold. And humans don't like the cold. That's why they start watching your stories again. That's why they bring your name up in conversations with mutual friends. That's why they randomly show up, pretending to be casual, But underneath the surface, they're spiraling. Because here's the truth: when you chase, they relax. When you pull back, they panic. The moment you stop fighting to prove your worth, the power dynamic flips. Now they're the one questioning their value. Now they're the one replaying memories. Now they're the one wondering, what did I do wrong? But let's be clear, you're not ignoring them out of spite. You're not playing games. You're just reclaiming your energy. You're showing the universe and them that your worth isn't something to be negotiated. You're not a backup plan. You're not an ego boost. You are a whole experience, and if they can't meet you with the same energy, then they don't get access to yours. Simple. So stop proving yourself to people who don't even know who they are. Stop chasing what only runs when it sees you coming. Let them feel the shift. Let your silence breed curiosity. Let your peace be the question that haunts them. Because the truth is, the less you care, the more powerful your presence becomes. Say it out loud and write it in the comments. I am the prize. Let that be your reminder. Let that be your energy. Let them chase what they once thought would always stay. Number 5. Emotional imprints never vanish. Here's proof. There are things you forget: a phone number, a password, what you ate for dinner last Tuesday. And then there are things you never forget, not because you try to remember them, but because they're etched into you. Deep, permanent. Emotional imprints, my friends. They don't vanish. They linger like ink on skin, even when the person pretends they've scrubbed you out of their story. Let me break it to you gently but truthfully. If you ever meant anything real to them, and I mean real, then you're still living rent-free in the corners of their memory. You're there in the laugh they faked to someone new, in the places you once visited, in the smell of that hoodie they swore they tossed out. They might act like they've moved on. They might pretend they're unbothered. But memory doesn't work like a light switch. It's not erased, it's buried. Buried beneath distractions, ego, and whatever half-hearted connection they tried to rebound with. But buried doesn't mean gone. It means waiting. Because here's the kicker: the human brain doesn't store emotional memories like regular ones. Neuroscience tells us that highly emotional experiences activate the amygdala, the part of your brain that stamps feelings into long-term memory. Translation: if you made them feel something deep, something real, something raw, you stayed, even if you're no longer there in the physical sense. You became a mental timestamp, a benchmark for comparison. Every new person they meet gets measured against the energy you left behind. You know that smile you gave them that made their entire day shift, still flashing in their mind on quiet drives. That scent they associated with you still hits them when they pass someone wearing the same perfume. That laugh that used to echo in late-night phone calls still replays in their head when they're laying next to someone who doesn't make them feel half as alive. And they won't admit it. Most people never do. But don't get it twisted. They remember. One song, one photo, one lonely night. That's all it takes. Suddenly, you're back in their bloodstream, without warning, no knock on the door, just a wave of feeling they thought they buried. But emotions don't go away just because someone is trying to forget you. They get repressed, delayed, postponed, until life throws them a reminder, a trigger. And just like that, boom, the floodgates open. And here's what's even more wild. These memories don't fade because they were emotional. They become part of their wiring, a part of how they now see love, trust, connection, even if they lost you, even if they broke you, even if they walked away. You weren't just someone they dated, you were someone that felt. And you can't undo a feeling like that. It sticks, it stains, and it wakes them up at 2 a.m. when they're surrounded by silence and can't figure out why they feel so hollow. So no, you're not just a ghost in their past, you're a mark, a presence, a quiet memory that gets louder the more they try to mute it. You gave them something no one else could, a real, raw, emotional connection. And even if they left you behind, they carried the echo of that bond with them. They just can't say it out loud. Let that truth hold you tonight. Let it calm the storm in your chest. You're not forgettable. You're unforgettable in ways they won't even understand until life forces them to face it. And when it does, they'll realize what they walked away from. Not a person, but an experience, a depth, a soul. Say it with me now. They still feel me. Write it in the comments. Let it live, because they do. Whether they show it or not, you're still there. Number 6. Detachment is power, and they feel it. Detachment. It's one of the most misunderstood moves in the game of love and heartbreak. People think it means becoming cold, becoming numb, shutting yourself off. But true detachment, the kind that comes from stoic wisdom, isn't about turning off your emotions. It's about mastering them. It's about choosing your peace over your impulse. It's about knowing that just because you feel everything doesn't mean you have to react to everything. That, my friends, is real strength. Calm, collected, unshakable. The moment you stopped reacting, they felt it. Make no mistake, that shift in your energy, it didn't go unnoticed. You used to light up their phone. You used to double text. You used to ask if they were okay, even after they hurt you. You used to check their socials, hoping to catch a glimpse of something that felt familiar. And then, one day, you stopped. And that silence, that quiet confidence, it was louder than any "I miss you" you could have ever sent. Because detachment isn't about pretending you don't care. It's not an act. It's not a mask. It's a decision, a declaration of self-worth. It says, I cared deeply, but not so much that I'll drown in someone who can't swim with me. You reached a point where their inconsistency stopped being attractive, their crumbs stopped feeling like a meal, their games stopped being fun, and that's when they started noticing, not when you were chasing, but when you started pulling away. They wanted your energy on a leash. They wanted you to orbit around their inconsistency like a moon around a planet. Always there, always loyal, always available. But you evolved. You became untouchable. Now they're the ones orbiting, hovering, watching from a distance, asking themselves what changed. And the answer is simple. You did. Carl Jung once said that what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. You stopped resisting reality. You stopped fighting for someone who couldn't meet you at your level. You saw the truth for what it was, and instead of clinging, you let go. Not because you stopped loving, but because you started loving yourself more. And that self-love, that's the energy they're chasing now, not the version of you that needed their approval, not the one who tolerated half-effort, but the one who knows their value, the one who walks with dignity, the one who doesn't beg to be seen. That's the version that haunts them now, the version that can't be controlled, the version that no longer flinches at their breadcrumbs. Detachment doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you no longer let that pain make your decisions. You feel it, you sit with it, but you don't act from it. That's stoicism. That's power. And trust me, they feel it. Every time you don't respond, every time you don't take the bait, every time your silence says more than your words ever could, they feel it. And maybe one day they'll admit it, maybe they won't, doesn't matter, because you didn't detach to get a reaction. You detached to get your life back. You detached because your peace matters more than their attention. And now, ironically, your peace is what draws them in. They're chasing what they once took for granted, the version of you that refuses to be caught. Say it now and type it in the comments. I choose peace. That's your power. That's your weapon. That's your freedom. Number 7. Why they'll circle back, the boomerang phenomenon. They always come back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, when you least expect it, there they are. A random text, a "Hey, how have you been?" A meme, a memory, a sorry, and it hits you like deja vu, because once again, they're orbiting your life, not because they woke up one morning with sudden clarity and overflowing love. No, my friends, most exes don't come back out of love. They come back because they lost control. They come back because the version of you they once handled carelessly is no longer reachable, and that burns. It's the boomerang phenomenon. You throw something out into the world thinking it's gone, and suddenly, snap, it circles back, right into your hand. But this isn't just fate. This isn't just chance. This is psychology. Unresolved attention creates obsession. When someone was used to your energy, your validation, your warmth, and that energy suddenly vanishes without a meltdown, without begging, without drama, it confuses the brain. And confusion breeds curiosity. Curiosity turns into watching. Watching turns into thinking. Thinking turns into craving. And craving, that turns into action. Here's what they expected. They thought you'd always be there. They thought your door would always be cracked open, just enough for them to slide back in whenever they got bored or lonely or rejected by someone else. But you didn't just close the door. You locked it. Silently. Without a warning. And now they're pacing outside it, realizing for the first time that they don't have the key anymore. The longer your silence, the louder their questions get. Why aren't they texting me? Did they move on? Are they happy without me? And even if their ego tells them to stay quiet, their anxiety starts screaming. Because when someone gets used to being the center of your emotional world, your attention, your affection, your loyalty, and suddenly they're cut off, that's not just distance, that's psychological withdrawal. You became a drug they thought they could quit. You were their comfort hit, and now they're stuck in the cold, remembering how warm it felt to be loved by you, to be seen by you, to be understood without even saying a word. They remember. Trust me. The late night calls, the way you said their name, the way you believed in them when they didn't even believe in themselves. That kind of love doesn't disappear. It just delays. And now they feel the delay like an echo they can't quiet. But here's the part they didn't see coming. You weren't waiting. You weren't frozen in time. You were evolving. You were healing. You were becoming someone stronger, wiser, more grounded, someone who no longer builds homes in temporary people, someone who doesn't romanticize pain. And that version of you, that's the one they regret leaving, because now they see you with new eyes, or maybe they just finally saw what was always there. Value, depth, soul. So when they circle back, and they will, remember, this isn't about you proving your worth. You never had to. This is about them trying to reclaim the version of you they lost access to. But here's the twist. That version of you no longer exists. You outgrew them. And now, what once was familiar feels foreign to them. That's not bitterness, that's growth, that's reality. Let them come back, let them reach out. But you stay grounded, you stay stoic, you stay in control. Because now you hold the power. And power doesn't chase, power observes, power chooses. Say it now and type it in the comments. I don't chase, I evolve. Let it be your truth. Because you're not waiting for them. You're becoming the person they never deserved. Number 8. You never needed them. That's why they'll want you again. Let's be real, my friends. The biggest plot twist in this whole story. You never actually needed them. That was the illusion. That was the emotional fog you were walking through, thinking they completed you, thinking their presence validated your worth. But that fog has lifted now, hasn't it? You're starting to see it clearly. They didn't complete you. They just distracted you from realizing you were whole the entire time. See, true power doesn't come from being chosen by someone else. It comes from choosing yourself, especially in a world that benefits when you doubt your value. And now, here you are, wiser, quieter, stronger, not because you never hurt, not because you didn't break, but because you picked up every shattered piece and rebuilt yourself without asking them for help. That's what makes you powerful. That's what makes you rare. You gave them access to a version of you that was pure, generous, loving, loyal. The kind of energy people pray for but sabotage when it finally shows up. You were consistent in a world of maybes. You were a lighthouse in their storm. And they didn't respect it. They didn't see the weight of what you offered. They took it like air, necessary but unnoticed, until it disappeared. And now? Now they're locked out, not just from your phone, but from your heart, your mind, your peace. They can't reach the version of you that stayed up late worrying about them. They can't talk to the you who over-explained, who overgave, who overloved. That person doesn't exist anymore. That person evolved into someone who knows their value, doesn't decrease just because someone else was too blind, too immature, or too insecure to see it. And guess what happens when people are locked out? They knock. Then they knock harder. Then they beg for the key they once tossed aside. They come back not because they've suddenly matured, not because they've figured it all out, but because your absence exposed their own emptiness. And now they crave the energy you used to pour into them like water on dry soil. Only now, the well is dry, the door is shut, the key is gone. They will come back. That's not a question, it's a matter of time. When their distractions wear off, when the temporary high of new people fades, when they finally realize what they had, and more painfully, what they lost. But you'll be long gone. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You'll be in a space where they simply don't fit anymore, where their old tricks don't work, where your silence speaks a language they can't understand. Because growth made you fluent in peace. And peace doesn't crave chaos, it avoids it. The most poetic revenge isn't blocking them, it's outgrowing them. It's becoming everything they didn't have the patience to wait for, everything they didn't deserve. Let them come back, let them see what they missed. But you don't shrink to be understood by people who refuse to grow with you. So, to wrap this all up, remember this: your silence, your growth, your detachment. They're not weakness, they're power. You were never waiting for them. You were becoming someone they'd never be able to forget. Let them come back if they want. But you've already moved forward. If this hit home, if it gave you clarity, or even just a little peace, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more Stoic dating wisdom. And drop it in the comments. I choose me. Stay grounded, my friends. Your story isn't over.